Hi guys! Welcome back to another video. By the title, this is definitely something that I don't normally do, but it is something that is important to me, and I've recently learned a lot more about ethical fashion, and now I feel very strongly about this subject. So I am boycotting fast fashion brands like Zara, H&M, Forever 21, Gap, Old Navy, all of that stuff. I'm no longer going to purchase. And why, you might ask? Is this sudden change happening? Well, I started watching a couple YouTubers who are into more ethical fashion. They're actually really into the fashion scene. One of them is a French gal, Justine Leconte. I don't know how to say her last name because I'm not French and I'm not very good at speaking French, but I'll link her in the description box below. And also Kristen was another person who I was watching. Her video just popped up and she was talking about ethical fashion and fast fashion trends and all that stuff. And then after watching their videos, I was like, oh, well, if I shop at places like H&M or Zara or Forever 21 just every once in a while, and I only buy these one-off pieces that I really like, and I make sure I read the label, that they have good material, that I like the craftsmanship, then I should be fine. And then I watched the documentary, The True Cost, and then that all changed. I said, nope, I have to completely ban those from my fashion repertoire, unfortunately, because ethically and environmentally, they are terrible companies. So we, as consumers, especially in America, most of us in that at least middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class even, a lot of us want to have great and amazing fashion on a budget. And these brands cater to that. They will show you a $7 shirt and you'll be like, that's a super cute $7 shirt, I must have it. And you think that you are getting a great buy. While you are not spending a lot of money on that shirt, you have to understand that the reason you're not spending very much money is because typically there is an ethical cost. A lot of the people who are making your garments are only being paid pennies to dollars a day. Nothing that you and I would even consider to be a decent wage. And we don't hear about that. Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is amazing. And as soon as I started watching the news, as soon as I started watching documentaries, as soon as I started figuring out where everything came from, my impact on the earth and all this stuff, I was like, oh, I wish for that ignorance back. It was so nice. And now I feel kind of burdened and crushed by it all, but I know that each and every one of us can make a positive difference in this. If we just try even that much, we can make a huge change. So ethically, what is happening? If you watch the documentary and if you start researching a lot of this stuff, you'll find that most of the clothing is made in sweatshops in like terrible conditions, and you would never yourself think that it is appropriate or humane to work in a place like that. But here we have these people making our shirts in terrible conditions. There was this huge collapse of a factory in Bangladesh that killed over 1,000 people, and that's mentioned in the documentary. And that was huge crises that happened within the fast fashion industry, and that was one of the first times that people were actually woken up to this idea of, holy crap, where are my clothes made? How are they made? By whom are they made? And what kind of conditions are these people living in? That's something to put in perspective. And granted, a lot of these people live in third world countries where the cost of living might not be as high, but if you see how these people are living, you would understand why they deserve more. And oftentimes there is a lot of child labor involved. These people need money, and oftentimes the companies want workers, and so children are brought in. Children are working in these terrible conditions. They're not getting enough food. They're working incredibly long hours, like 12 to 14 hours, working every single day, and this goes for children and adults. They're not well ventilated areas, especially when they're working in chemicals and fabric. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with fabric, but all of the dust and stuff that comes out of fabric and the different dyes, they can cause a really toxic environment. And even me just working in retail, sometimes it affects me, and that's on a minimal scale compared to what these people are immersed in. And so thinking about that, it needs to stop. It needs to be put to an end. Also, these workers get exploited. They are oftentimes not given health care. They're, again, forced to work in these terrible conditions. They're threatened with their jobs. Like if they don't work faster, if they don't risk more and do more, they'll lose their job. And oftentimes this is the best job that they can get. And so some people use that as an argument. They'll be like, well, this is the best job that they can get. It could be better though. You have the CEOs of these companies making millions and billions of dollars. I'll put down some numbers in the description box as well. And it breaks my heart because for a fraction of the CEOs and like all the big wig salaries, you could pay these people a decent wage and not have to increase the price of the garment. You do not have to make a 3,000% profit on a t-shirt at the expense of somebody else. CEOs can take $1 billion less. It's not that big of a deal. for them. And then on top of that, and this is something that's really important to me, is the environment. It turns out that the fashion industry is number 2 in line for causing the most pollution in the world, second only to oil. Think about that. Second. Number 2. It's really hard to wrap your head around how much clothing textiles that we throw away and cause pollution and all that stuff until you walk into a Forever 21, like I did the other day. So I was walking through, and this is before I had like my huge revelation of no longer doing this, but I was walking through and I was looking for a particular item. And as I'm walking through, I'm looking at all of the stuff that is around me that is stuff. And it's not just a few things here and there of a particular style or whatever. There are piles and piles of the same exact thing in one corner, and right next to that are piles and piles of another thing, and next to that piles and piles of another thing, and it just keeps on going. And this is a huge store, and you think of all of the stuff that's in there, and then multiply that by all of the store locations that these people have, all the factories, all the warehouses, all of that stuff. It's mind-blowing how much just trash that these people are making every day. It's really sickening. There aren't enough people in the world who can purchase that stuff to purchase all of that. In fact, these companies have actually had an issue with the surplus of clothing that they've had, or they've been making too much and now they don't know what to do with it. And that's the other thing that's been happening, is that these companies are no longer following the fashion yearbook, if you will. Usually you have a spring summer line that comes out and a fall winter line. These companies are making spring, mid-spring, late spring, summer, midsummer, fall, winter. They're making all of these in-betweeners. And so now they're increasing the amount of clothes and waste that they're producing exponentially. And if you look at pictures of these places where a lot of the factories are, it looks like there's some rolling hills out there, but then on closer inspection, it's rolling hills of clothing and just trash. And unfortunately, all of that stuff, as it's decomposing, which will take hundreds of years, it's releasing chemicals and toxins into our environment. And for a lot of those people, it's into their drinking water. Good job. And I get it. It is so hard with the ever-changing fashion tide. Like, I want to ride that wave too. I love fashion. Like, some of my vlogs are of fashion, and I'm kind of like a fashion vlogging hobbyist. It's not my career, but it's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's something that I want to continue doing. However, I don't want to do it at the expense of the planet, basically. And that's what you see. Like, right now, even YouTube is supporting these like fashion hauls. Like, everyone wants to consume more and more, and they want to make this like statement, and it has to be bigger and more explosive than last time. So I just got 50 things at Forever 21. I just got like 30 things at Zara. Check out my huge Zara haul. And it's like,
what are these people doing with all their clothes?
you can't possibly wear all of that and then in addition to what else is already in your closet. Like, are you guys recycling? Are you giving away? Are you donating? What are you doing with all of these clothes? Does that really just end up in the trash? It's crazy. And then along with the environmental stuff, you have the materials that are used. Oftentimes these companies will pick the cheapest material to use in their product, and oftentimes that's going to be polyester. And where does polyester come from? It comes from plastic. Where does plastic come from? Oil, which is your #1 polluter. So it all kind of goes in hand, which really sucks for the environment and for everyone using it. The only really slightly redeemable thing about polyester is that when they do try to recycle clothes, that's a little bit easier to break back down and resynthesize into clothing, but most of it ends up in the trash and it won't decompose for hundreds of years. And so with all of that kind of like negative baggage I just threw at you guys, there are ways for us, you and me, to do our part and to cope with this and to try to make things a little bit better. The first thing I would recommend is shop in fashion staples. Find pieces that you need, love, and will last you. Now when I shop, I break it down and I think, is this gonna last me at least 5 years? Is this a timeless style? Is this something that I can wear for the next 5 years and actually still look good and be in fashion and be comfortable when I go outside? Is this made well enough with good quality materials, good quality craftsmanship that it will actually last those 5 years that I need it to last? And then is it priced reasonably in my budget that if I buy this, will this purchase be worth the money that I spent on it? So keeping that in mind, you are able to do a lot of shopping. I think what these brands have done very successfully is market to people who want to spend the least amount of money for hot fashion. So oftentimes we're like, oh my god, I don't have enough money to look really cool.
What? H&M? That shirt's only $7? Oh my god, like now I can totally be a fashionista on a budget. Yeah.
Except Except when you would have spent $100 for those jeans that were ethically made or made locally or made out of better material, and instead you purchase like 5 different things at H&M for $100, the jeans are something that are gonna last you. You probably needed them and they're gonna look way better on you. And then you have to think, did you really need those 5 things? Because you're more likely to be like,
oh my gosh, so that's $10. I can totally buy that. What's stopping me from buying that? That's amazing.
and then you end up spending just as much on things you didn't need versus spending the same amount on something that you actually did need. Point in case, or case in point. Case in point. I went into H&M the other day, again before my whole like come to Jesus moment, and there was this shirt dress on sale for $10. And I was like, oh my god, like I totally don't need a shirt dress.
But like, it's only $10, and you know what? It would actually be good for summer. It's something I can just throw on. It's a basic. It's an all-in-one outfit. I don't have to like coordinate or plan and whatever. And oh my god, it's actually made out of viscose.
Which is a good thing about H&M is that a lot of their products are made out of viscose, and that's a good material. So like, I'll give you that. H&M, you've got some pluses, but more minuses. Anyway, so I literally deliberated for about 30 minutes, walking back and forth to the shirt dress and trying to decide whether or not I really wanted and needed this $10 dress. And then it came down to the fact that I'm probably not going to shave my legs often enough to just throw this dress on, if we're really honest. And I already have go-to summer outfits that fit more within my actual style. And so in the end, I didn't really need that dress. It was cute. I probably could have made it work, but it's just another addition into my closet of something that I don't need. And then I discovered all this and I was like, thank God I didn't buy that freaking dress. Another thing too that you can do is you can thrift shop. Now, I'm gonna be the first to admit that thrift shopping skeeves me out a little bit. Like, I find it a little bit weird putting on someone else's clothes who's already worn that, and I don't know who that person is. I don't know what they did in those clothes. I'm not really sure about like their hygiene practices. You know, these things kind of run through my head. I overthink things. However, there are a lot of things for me, and if you're like me, that aren't as lived in, like a jacket. Jackets are great. Same with denim and pants. Like, oftentimes that's not touching bare skin that's stinky unless the person went commando. Just like, don't think about that. But jeans and pants are great because you can easily alter those and have them fit your body, which is really cool. Another thing is handbags and wallets. If you can find name brand, or even if you can just find stuff that is in really good condition, those are great things for secondhand. Now, for all my friends in Japan and all my Japanese viewers, Japan is on their thrifting game. Japanese people take really good care of their stuff, and so that's really awesome. So if you go to Japan, if you're living in Japan, check out thrifting because I think it's a really great option. Another thing you can do is read labels. Check where your garment is made. Also look at the materials. Things like cotton, viscose, modal, those things are really good materials that are at least good for you as a person wearing them. Things like polyester, polyamide, those are man-made plastic materials. They're actually not good for you to wear because they're not breathable. So A, they get stinky, and B, they're really not nice to like up and close parts of your skin. Your skin can't breathe at that point. Another way is upcycling your clothes. You can take it to a tailor or you can do it yourself, and you can change the appearance of your clothes. There are so many YouTube tutorials on how to upcycle your wardrobe. I just did it with that jumper in my last video where I dyed it. You can also make adjustments, you can do rips, you can cut your jeans into jean shorts. There's so many things that you can do to upcycle your clothes, and that way they're not just ending up in the trash. One other pro that I will throw towards H&M, and I think even Forever 21 does this, but H&M is a little bit more accessible with this, is that you can utilize the recycling program, which means that you can bring any of your old clothing and textiles fabrics to them, and they have partnered with this company called ICO, which actually works on recycling fabric. And so what they do is they actually try to break it down and reuse it into new garments, which I think is amazing, and I really want to support that and that technology and that science. And so good on them. It's not a huge part of their business and it's not making up a lot of their clothing, but it's a step in the right direction. So I definitely appreciate that, because oftentimes what happens, even when you donate your clothes to like a Salvation Army or something like that, they get so overrun with drop-offs that they have to eventually throw things in the dump, which is unfortunate that there isn't another way to alleviate that problem. But you should check and see, like, if you're gonna drop something off, say, hey, are you guys accepting donations? You can also do consignment shops. Taking your clothes to consignment shops, especially if you have good quality clothes, if you have a little bit more expensive brands, it's a great way for you to make an extra buck, but it's also a great way to recycle your clothing. I'm also going to put a list of ethical clothing brands down below that will include clothing and shoes, and honestly, not all of them are expensive. There are some incredibly affordable ones. They also have sales. And I understand not everybody has a bunch of money to spend on clothes. Some people shop at H&M and they shop here and there for staple pieces that they need. I have definitely been there where it's like, I needed a blazer and I couldn't afford a blazer somewhere else. And so I got a blazer at H&M or I got a blazer at Zara. I still have those blazers, by the way, and they're great. And it's understandable. If you can't afford some of these more ethical brands, you're also not the person who's doing like fashion hauls. You're probably also not the person who's purchasing large amounts of clothing. You're purchasing for your needs. And so don't feel bad if you have to shop at H&M. That's totally fine. You're not part of the problem. People like me and a lot of the people I know who, if we shopped intelligently, we could buy ethical clothing instead of the fast fashion brands. So I implore you all to be the conscientious consumer and try to educate yourself and think before you buy, and really do your best to help out those people in need in the world and help out the environment. Everybody can do a little bit. Even if you can't make a huge plunge into this ethical lifestyle, at least do a little bit. Like, really take a look at what you're buying and think before you buy, do I really need this? Is this something that has to be in my wardrobe? Even if you're like a fashionista. And I really hope that you guys take a look into it. I'm stepping off my soapbox now, and I hope that you come away with thinking a little bit more about what you can do to just kind of make the world a better place. I know that sounds cheesy, but I truly mean it. And I really hope you guys like this video. I hope you'll take a look in the description box below at some of the links I'm going to provide, and I really hope that you create a conversation with me. Tell me about some brands that maybe you know that are ethical or environmentally friendly, or if you have any questions, let me know as well, or if there's something that you're curious about, or you just want to say hi or whatever, totally drop me a line down in the comments box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click like, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!